All right. Hello.
Hi.
Nice seeing you today.
Nice seeing you.
My name is Brianna Gray. I am a marketing intern for Charlotte Profiles in Color, and our purpose is to amplify the voices of women of color with unique businesses, talents, and interesting stories to tell. Today, I am here with Miss Nawara Blue in Houston, Texas. Ms. Blue has extensive experience in television production, specifically reality TV. She has a bachelor's degree in public relations from Wayne State University and has produced various shows on networks like OWN, Netflix, and BET. How are you doing today, Ms.
I'm
Blue?
good. Come on, research. I appreciate that.
So our first question is, can you share with us your journey into the reality TV production industry and what inspired you to pursue this career?
So I always say it was a God thing because it wasn't necessarily something I intended for myself. As you said, I majored in public relations at Wayne State University. I always tell this story, but I used to want to be Samantha from Sex and the City. I don't know if you even know who that is, but she was a publicist, and like one of her biggest claim to fame was she took this guy named Smith Jarrett, who was like a waiter, but he was like really attractive, and she made him like this superstar. And being a kid from Detroit, I was really into music. I was really into Detroit music, and I was like, oh, I want to take like a local rapper or local R&B singer because I used to sing too, and I want to make them, my Smith Jarrett. And so I end up practicing PR, end up interning in PR, and I realized I didn't like PR. After getting my degree in it and having multiple internships, I was like, yeah, I just kind of wasted 4 years of my life. Not really. However, I ended up moving to Vegas to pursue PR, and I had an internship. And just throughout that experience, the internship, the mentors that I gained from that were amazing. But the actual practice of it, I didn't attach to it. And it just wasn't something that I enjoyed. I also didn't feel like I was good at it, like good at certain aspects, but in public relations, there's a lot of writing. There's different type of writing. It's not like creative writing. It's more so like MLA, APA. There's rules and things like that. And I just kind of felt constricted. And if I'm honest, at the time, I don't know if I was a strong enough professional or strong enough writer to even be the level that I think that I was trying to be. And I thank God for that experience because without having internships and externships and things like that, you wouldn't know. And thankfully, the mentor that I had at the firm, she's spoken to me about the different things that she felt like that I was good at. And we represented a show called Pawn Stars, which was like a really huge show. It's still on today, but they were like, want to say number one on TV. Like they were bigger than the Kardashians then. And they needed a production assistant. And she knew that, obviously, and I knew that because we represented them. And she was like, hey, you have the relationship, go in for an interview. I went in for an interview and got the job. And everything that PR wasn't for me, production was. And it just came extremely easy. Like my organization skills, my just knowledge of knowing how to take care of people and taking initiative. It was just there and I was able to do it. And so I was a production assistant for only a year. And then I got promoted to associate producer. And then slowly but surely, I kind of just kept climbing the ladder with different roles, different gigs, and different positions within the entertainment industry. So I always say it was a God thing because it definitely wasn't something I chose for myself. Like growing up, reality TV wasn't big. And so I didn't even know the job that I do now and the job that I did then, I didn't even know was a job. We didn't have courses in college like for reality television because it was newer. So it was definitely something that I think was chosen for me.
That's good. I think it's great that you found something that's like natural for you.
Yeah.
It feels natural.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Can you walk us through the process of developing a reality TV show from like concept to actually airing?
Okay. So me personally, I don't work in development, but I did have the opportunity to kind of be a part of that process. I created a show called The Vet Life. It was on Animal Planet for 6 seasons. It revolved around three African American doctors who went to a HBCU, Tuskegee University, and it explored their life and their their practice of being veterinarians in Houston, Texas. So all of them had moved to Houston. They were friends, and it, shared their journeys about being new business owners, being veterinarians, and then it also showed their families. The star of that show was my brother, Dr. Nawara Blue, and the pitch concept, honestly, I had never pitched before, so it was more so relationship based. And to this day, like, a lot of people will come to me like, "Hey, can you get a show on the air for me?" And I'm like, I do not have that contact. I am a for hire freelance producer. But the relationship was there. So the people that I was working with at the time, they were kind of venturing off to start their production company. I had visited my brother. I had visited my brother here because I was living in Vegas, and I had visited him here, and I saw what he was building. Anybody who knows my brother, Diara, he's a character. He's always been a character. And then to see, I never saw anything like that. I never saw, first of all, Black vets, and I never saw 3 African-American vets. So it was something where I felt like if anybody saw it, they would have been like, yo, this is something. Right. And so for me, my process was, one, recognizing the idea, talking to them to see if it was something they were interested in. At first they weren't. But I convinced them, and then using the relationship that I had at the time, and I ended up pitching, like, it was like literally a elevator pitch, like, hey, I know you're looking for content, this is a good idea. And I talked to him, and then actually they kind of end up moving forward and doing the rest, and then I end up getting hired on as a field producer for the show for like the first 3 seasons. But typically when it comes to the process of from pitching to on a show, it sometimes can take years. Our show was literally, like I keep saying, a God thing, because it went from pitch, like, say if I pitched it in June, we were on air by January. Like, it happened so fast. Wow. And the characters themselves sold, because Animal Planet really loved these guys. Like, even before they shot a sizzle reel, I believe that Animal Planet already was, very interested in them, from what I know. So, but typically you will, obviously you have an idea, you create a deck, which will include, the concept. What is the show about? Who is it for? The what, the when, the why, the how. What's the process of the show? How many episodes are you thinking? How long? Like, every single detail that you can imagine, just like if you were creating an actual script, you are creating that, concept for it. And then a lot of times, depending on your relationships, you try to get a production company to kind of support you so that you can shoot a sizzle reel. Nowadays, to be honest, because of the technology that we have, a lot of stuff you can shoot yourself. And I think it's also better that way, because if you are able to shoot things yourself in your concept, you're able to bring a full vision in front of someone, versus saying, like, I have an idea. Right. Like, hey, I have an idea. Can you create this idea and then let's try to sell it? Versus, like, if I bring you a full package and say, hey, these are the, stats of it. This is who I believe is going to watch it. These, this is what it looks like. It's different. But typically a sizzle reel or like a pilot or whatever is formed or filmed. And like, if you have an agent sometimes, or like, depending on the relationships that you have with different production companies, you kind of try to shop that around. There are certain cases where you may go straight to a network, but that's rare. Depends on your relationships. And then that idea will then end up getting maybe shopped to different networks, gets picked up, gets a budget for it, and then you shoot, and then it kind of goes on from there.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how that would be a very long process.
It can be, and that's just for me, like, just being in the industry. That's not even me being an expert. I don't claim to be an expert when it comes to the development process. I've obviously been a part of it, but for me, I'm typically in the field producing a show. So my position typically comes in once a show is already been picked up by a network, purchase, and it's like, hey, I'm hiring you on to produce said show for this amount of time, for this many episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there any like specific storyline or, I guess, types of people that you like to highlight whenever you are producing?
So great question. I am particular about the shows I choose. I wish I wasn't, because I probably would have a lot more money. I don't like working on shows where I can't sleep at night. I don't like working on shows that are just overly produced drama. And I don't like working on shows that I feel like as a Black woman makes me feel a certain type of way about Black people, or I feel like doesn't provide us with the best light. I just got It's okay, girl. It happens. It happens. Or I feel it doesn't provide us with the best light. And even in that, as I've aged, I've learned that kind of has changed too, because I used to be very hard on what I deem to be positive Black images. Mm-hmm. And then the older I get, I realize that everybody deserves a representation, right? And so even if it's not my take or what I think, everybody mm-hmm. deserves to see themselves on the screen. And I believe that. And so even that has shifted. However, I like working on shows that I feel like are just authentic. And it's, I work in reality TV. So if you are overly producing something, mm-hmm. it's already a downfall. I like working on things where, like, yes, you hope for the best, but the reality makes it even better. Right. I've done a lot of love stories and a lot of love shows, and so those are always fun. Mm-hmm. Just seeing people truly embrace the process, because mm-hmm. reality TV does take you there, and so those are always fun. But I don't know. I think one of my brother's show, The Vet Life, I really enjoyed it. One, because it stretched me as a producer, because it's one thing to lead a crew and produce for strangers, and it's another thing to do that around your family, especially if you're the baby mm-hmm. of the family. Mm-hmm. So that was just a different learning curve and a process. But I loved seeing the concept, and after that, like, there's been more Black veterinarian shows. Not to say that those weren't in the works when we were doing ours, mm-hmm. but I know almost for a fact that I think ours was the first. And so that, seeing that, like, and kids like coming up to them like, now I want to be a vet, like seeing little Black kids saying that, and them being that representation, I that's dope for me. And so I love stuff like that.
That's really good. Yeah. I know me and my mom always watch Ready to Love. I saw that on your list of shows that you produce. We really like that show. Okay, so social media has become a significant aspect of reality TV, mm-hmm. with viewers being able to engage directly with cast members and producers. Mm-hmm. So how do you leverage social media to enhance the viewer experience and promote your shows?
Great question. I wish I was better. I am not, like, I'm a millennial, so I was there before social media, and I was there right at the beginning of social media. Like, I remember, it's funny, me and my sister was talking about this the other day. Like, I remember when you had to have a college ID or a college email to get on Facebook. Really? And so, yeah, because at first, it started, I believe, at Harvard, whatever the social network movie is. I think it was Harvard, Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. And like, it was first their community, and then they expanded to other colleges, and then obviously outside of that. But when literally in 2006, when I got my email for Wayne State, first thing I did, it was like a rites of passage, like, you get on Facebook. Anyway, so being that I've been there since the beginning, social media for me was always an outlet where it's like, oh, I got these pictures, let me show my friends, let me show my community. Mm-hmm. And so now that social media is an entity in itself, unfortunately, I have not really been a person that has taken advantage of that. Mm-hmm. Like, I am very vulnerable on my social media, but like, to me, I look at social media not as life, but also as just like my close personal friends. So mm-hmm. I don't use it in that aspect, which I probably mm-hmm. could. Also, with reality TV, people are not necessarily interested in the background workers. Like, for me, I'm literally in the background. So once a show airs, the audience more so wants to engage with the stars that they see. Mm-hmm. You have certain people who are like TV buffs who are like, oh, I wonder who produced that. But when it comes to, I feel like reality TV producers, no one is looking to see, like, oh, who was the DP? Who directed that? Or who was, who was the producers on that? Like, you know what I mean? It's not like we're Ava DuVernay or Issa Rae, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, for me, I don't, but I do know a lot of my, friends in the industry who do utilize their platforms, and it gets them more jobs, and they are engaging. And like when the show airs, they go and they put behind the scenes pictures and we'll be like, ooh, now that this aired, and they are engaging. But that's a lot. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be talking to strangers. I just
it might be good that you keep it like separate, so it's like your whole life is not about producing.
And so don't get me wrong, I definitely post, like if a show's about to air, like I'll be like, hey, watch this. But also like when you are producing or in the TV field, you're in the future almost, because once something has aired, like I have something that I filmed, like a show that I filmed like 2 years ago, and it still hasn't aired. And so like I get paid while I'm working. And so like once that's done, I don't, I'm not required to promote shows or anything like that. Like if I'm proud of it and I just want people to know, like, hey, I will, but it's not like you're necessarily supporting me by watching this show. You know what I mean? And so, but I still like, I'll definitely post. Like people who follow me, they know that's what I do for a living, but I don't make my social media about me producing.
Okay. Speaking of social media, I know it's a huge component of branding as well, and I noticed your tagline, "Blue like the color," to go with your last name. So, what experiences have helped you develop your personal brand?
What experiences have helped me develop my personal brand? So, the blue like the color tagline actually came from my mother. That was her married name when she was married to my father. And I remember as a kid waking up every day, and my mother would be on some type of business call, whether it was for her job, whether it was for like paying bills. And she was like, "This is Monica Blue, like the color." And like that always stuck in my head. And like I was saying earlier, I wanted to be a singer when I was younger. So I used to say my first album was going to be Nawara Blue, like the color. Didn't end up becoming a singer. And so for my 30th birthday, my brother did, my oldest brother, Tarka, did a photo shoot for me. And as a surprise, he bought the web address Blue like the color, and he like created me this online or this website, which was really just a resume. It was just like an online resume pretty much. And Blue like the color ended up becoming my trademark, and then like my LLC. And so ask me your question again.
What experiences have helped you develop your personal brand?
So the experience of that was, one, it was my name. I've always been told my name is unique, Nawara Blue. And so with my mom saying that, it just kind of all came together. And that is one time that I remember redoing my social media, to go back to your last question. Like I deleted like a lot of old pictures. I put, my Blue like the color website, and kind of made it like that was my thing, because it's my name. So it was more so like I was born with it. And so it's mine.
I like it. I like it. So, as a Black woman in a predominantly white and male-dominated industry, what strategies have you employed to overcome any barriers or biases you may have encountered?
Great question. Just try to be better, I think. I definitely have had experiences like when I first started out, I was typically the only woman a lot of times. Definitely the only Black woman for sure. But the only woman a lot of times, sometimes the only Black person in the room. I think trying not to shrink yourself, trying not to conform, still being who you are, because what makes me unique is me. Like being a Black woman is very much as part of me, just as being Nawara Blue is a part of me, right? And so with that, just trying to remain myself. But the truth of the matter is, like, we are always told, and I hate to say this because I literally sound like I'm in an episode of Scandal, but we were always told to, you have to be 2 times as better. You have to work as harder just to get the same. And I've seen it. Like, I've literally been in situations where I found out someone who I trained, who was in a lower position than me, made more than me. You know what I mean? And what do? Do you go in there and go off, or do you work your butt off and you put yourself in a position so that when an opportunity comes, you can either make a decision to leave, or you can, tell them what you're worth to make them make you stay. Also within this industry, it was funny, me and my friend just had this conversation. Like, I personally have this industry is, can be difficult. Sorry. Is it okay? This industry, sorry. This industry can sometimes be difficult for creators, period. Like, we just had the writer strike, which really didn't affect reality TV, more so because it's scripted. But I've personally have been without a gig for a while now, and so me and my friend were just having this conversation where I know a lot of my white male counterparts don't necessarily deal with a lot of things that I deal with when it comes to the industry. I think that with being a person of color, period, but definitely a Black woman, and these are conversations that I've had before, especially when you're the first, you are responsible almost for everybody else that comes behind you. You are the reason, or you are the pathway for people to either get or not get jobs. And it's funny, I went to a majority white high school, and I got asked to sing the national anthem. And I think I was the first Black person in that school's history to do that, for my graduation. And I added my little thing at the end or whatever. And I remember seeing on social media, this young girl wrote me, and she was a Black girl who went to my school, and she sung as well. And she was saying how she was denied to sing the national anthem for her year. And one of the excuses or something that they told her, they was like, well, when Nawara did it, she kind of added like this little thing at the end, and people didn't know that she was done, and it was just kind of, so we want to just kind of do something more basic, because this girl was like, she was like a known gospel singer, her family was, and so I guess they thought that she was about to jazz it up more. I don't know, but they used me as an excuse basically to tell this young girl no.
Right.
And I just thought about that. I was like, that's, first of all, that's crazy, but that's how it feels sometimes. Like, when you're the only one, you have to make sure that you are putting on a good face, and you are making sure so those that come behind you can, one, have a pathway. And I think that's hard because it doesn't give you the opportunity to fail, which we all need that experience.
Right.
We need that experience to fail, but we also need that experience to get back up. So with your question, it's more so having that balance to learning how to be yourself, being authentic, not conforming, or at least not conforming to the amount where your integrity is jeopardized, while still learning, while still trying to be better, just to get ahead, or at least just to be there sometimes. So it's one of those things. It sucks, but it can make you a stronger person,
And I think that's really good for representation purposes, like how you brought up the kids who wanted to be a vet, just like your brother, for the documentary for your brother. But yeah, I think that's really good for representation purposes, just that you being the pathway. I like the word you used. Being the pathway was just really good.
Thank you.
Okay, so our last question.
Okay.
Looking back on your career thus far, what advice would you give to another woman of color looking to start working in a similar industry?
Oh, you are asking.
Let's open the book up.
Listen, right? The crazy part is you're asking at a time right now where I'm asking myself that same question. I literally kind of just had like a vulnerable post the other day because I was frustrated, and I was like, if I could start all over again, I'll probably try to be a doctor or a lawyer, or something that I knew that would guarantee a certain type of lifestyle or a revenue. So the advice that I would give is, if you are going to do this art lifestyle, and that goes for producing any type of film, TV, singer, artist lifestyle, you definitely have to have strong skills. I would say have a hustle mentality. That's something that I think I've personally struggled with, because growing up, I hated plan B'ers. Like, I hated people who be like, oh, I have a plan B. It's like, I didn't want a plan B. Like, I wanted my plan A to work. And sometimes, like, you may have to shift to that plan B a little bit just to continue with your plan A. And that's hard for me. Especially the way that I feel like millennials grew up. We were told, if you get your education, if you go to college, if you do all of these things, you will get to where you need to be. And obviously with, just the cost of living and just life, sometimes it doesn't happen that way. So I want to be realistic to those women that you have to have something in you. I want to be realistic to that women to make sure that you have to have something in you beside yourself that pushes you, because there will be moments, and even if it's not moments of poverty, even if there's just moments of doubting yourself, there will be moments of, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And I think that's honestly for any industry. Is this the path for me? And so making sure that you are confident within yourself, within your belief system, to continue to just keep pushing, because I don't feel like this industry is not for the faint of heart. Like a lot of people, and it's funny when I posted that, like so many people like inbox me and was like, "Girl, you have never lied. Like this is hard right now." Like and it's very hard. I would say sometimes to be creative when it's like, what I'm about to eat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's hard. It's really hard to be like, oh, like what do I think today? Let me create something, but these bills. You know what I mean? Like that can be extremely difficult. So, you have to make sure that this is what you want, and understand there may be a struggle period. There may be a struggle period after a success period, which is hard. You know what I'm saying? To reach a mountaintop and then end up struggling. And so, finding something in yourself, and then you have moments that remind you like, hey, there's worth there is work for you to be done. And I think also remembering that you are the only person that can do what you do for a particular thing. So many people have ideas. Like there's a billion shoe brands, there's a billion hair brands, but only you can create this particular thing. Like I said, there are hundreds of vet shows, but my idea was about these 3 particular vets who went to this particular school, who are doing this particular thing in Houston, Texas, with these particular people as their family, right? So even if there's another Black vet show after that, it will never be that. And that's okay. So making sure that you are confident in who you are, making sure there's a belief system that you are attached to and you continue to gain strength from. And then also the work ethic and just being able to persevere even in the down times. And I'm talking to myself too, by the way, because it gets hard. It definitely does.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Thank you.
Houston. We have a little gift from PinC for you.
Oh, cute!
Thank
you. PinC with a C.